Hello and welcome back to episode 4 of the Blunt Lemons Lemonade podcast. This week we are talking about our favourite universes. Hooray! And to guide us through this process is Chris.
Oh, I'm the guide, am I?
The
Hello,
guide.
I'm Chris, your friendly local universe guide.
Yes, excellent. Marvellous. So, we're going to talk about our one favourite universes across movies and games and whatever, pop fiction. And we're also going to talk about which universes we want to live in, or would like to live in if we had to choose. Naturally, these are probably different because our favourite universes probably involve a lot of death. And
Well, my favourite one has very bad odds on the survival
think-
rates.
I think every universe has death in it. The ones I've got here, anyway. A
Yeah.
lot of death.
Yeah, and the bad thing is you're probably not going to be the guy dealing with death. That's the unfortunate thing.
Yes. So what's like? Are we spawning in this universe as like an average person, or is it just completely random? Like, could we end up? Really?
I'd say it's completely random.
Okay.
You
could-
just get tossed in and someone's press the randomizer on your character creator. You could be the biggest badass leading to charge against the evil forces, or you could just be, a slave.
the two ends of the spectrum right there. So, yeah, it's not guaranteed good things will happen to you. You could just be Bob.
You gotta think of your chances in this universe.
Exactly. If it's going right tits up, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. And, so I think we'll talk about our favourite universes first. That makes more sense.
It's a
Sounds good
favourite
to
one
me.
that we don't want to live in.
Yeah, well, yeah, just favourite in general, doesn't regardless of
Yeah.
living or whatever, all of that nonsense. So Ben, take it away.
Well, I've got a
Ooh.
very extensive list of my favorite universes, but it's a toss-up really. Between I'd say 4 or 5.
Okay.
That's a lot, but okay.
Let's. But the
We can
start
do
off,
this. We can narrow this down.
I could start off the Lord of the Rings, like
Yeah.
Middle Earth. That's one of my favorite universes.
Fair.
Because
Naturally.
there's just Middle Earth sounds like just a wonderful place, and there's just so much lore, so many creatures, so many different species of people. Like,
You see, with Lord of the Rings, it's the lore where I start tripping up. If I only think about it in the narrow context of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, I'm like, that's a cool universe, but then you start, straying into, the, ancient shit, and I'm like, ooh.
yeah, I mean,
I don't like this much, but that's just me.
the stuff that Tolkien, I've not read. I can't even remember what it's called. The
Silmarillion?
Silmarillion.
I'm quite scared about reading that because
I read, the first chapter. It's a dense book.
it's like the first Dark Lord. Like, there's a giant spider, but not the same giant spider, or
Oh.
something.
Oh, yeah,
You
no,
gotta
it,
give
it,
that man credit for how much detail he decided to put into that fucking universe.
The problem is it gets real weird real quick. Like, then there's Errol Luvatar, and he gave shape to the dwarves under the mountain. Like, please, stop. Stop. Can they not just be species? But, yeah.
He went very, very far. He went hard. He definitely went hard, old Tolkien.
He basically went, if you want to know everything about the universe, there you go.
But to be fair, he accounts for a lot. But
Well, what I do respect about it is that he made the universe he wanted to make. He was interested in myths and languages and all that sort of shit, and that is the universe he made. Very, very stringently made.
I mean, the fact that he made these Elvish languages just up is, I mean, it's ridiculous, really. Like, you didn't need to do that, mate, but whatever.
come on,
He did it.
man.
But that's the whole reason he made the stories, though. That's where the mad respect comes from. I don't like a lot of what happens in his universe, but he started it from a very interesting angle.
Damn it. I want you to remind me of something later now, because you brought up languages. Remind me to discuss language when I get to my favourite one.
We should
Yeah.
do our
Someone.
best.
Shall I move on to my other ones, or
Go for it.
okay?
You said you hadn't chosen one yet.
Not really. No. I think they're kind of very similar. Like they're obviously completely different, but like very similar is like the Marvel and DC superhero stuff. Like those
there's terrible ones.
Shut up. No, but like in
There
general,
are
like,
world-ending threats every day.
not talking about just movies or anything. I'm talking about like, straight up just like the comic universes, not like the MCU or anything like that. Although I love the MCU.
When it comes to stuff with comic book universes, it gets a bit woolly. Like, because the comic book universe is like, do you mean New 52? Or do you mean Golden Age? How about the Silver Age? How about the I can't even remember what the one after New 52 even is now. But,
the amount of resets that they've had is
This is why I'm not a huge fan. Oh, one of the reasons, actually. Isn't it like every universe is just different and there's no real...
It's ridiculous. Like, there's thousands, like the multiverse in each one, and you can't possibly follow it all. But I love the characters in it, and I love the different worlds and stuff like that in them. And so
I'd love to make a comment on this, but my limited knowledge of superheroes only comes from I was about to say video games, not video games, films, because I've tried. I think I've tried in the past briefly to try to get into comics, and I was just like, nah. I either want to watch it or want to play it.
Yeah.
I love standalone graphic novels, like Court of Owls for Batman. Well, to be honest, all my examples are Batman ones, because that's what I read. But I've never been able to get into like the proper like monthly or weekly. I can't even remember how they release them anymore.
Yeah, no, because it's better to just go over, like, for me, same. It's just better to go over like just the one-off stories just set in that world. At that specific point, this one specific story, instead of just getting confused with, like, I don't know, Crisis on Infinite Earths or whatever that nonsense is. I don't know. Universes like crashing together and stuff like that.
There's 3 different Supermans. One of them has an upside down S. That guy has grey hair, but they all have the same powers, but they're from different universes, so they have slightly
Russian.
different Lois Lanes.
That Batman over there is actually Superman, but it's when Superman fell to Gotham instead.
That Batman is his father from a different universe if the Reverse Flash accidentally sneezed at the right moment. Okay. Okay.
This all sounds a tad ridiculous.
Exactly.
Just a tad.
Yeah, so there's them. And then finally, I've got a couple of others, but finally got the Star Wars universes. Star Wars universe and the...
Well, technically there are universes, if you count Legends
There's
and
canon and non-canon now.
Oh, I suppose you're right, yeah. See, not even Star Wars. Nothing simple. It's all so complicated. Star Wars and Harry Potter. Those are my other 2.
Oh, I forgot about
Harry Potter.
Yes, Harry Potter.
You're a faggot, Harry. Sorry.
Oh, damn.
That's the meme. It's the meme. It's not my political beliefs.
Again, I repeat from what I said last time we discussed Harry Potter. I was watching that over the weekend whilst it was Mother's Day, and I could not help myself but laugh at all the memed moments from the first 3 films.
It's one of many reasons I'm glad that I'm like very disassociated with my own generation, that I've never got into meme culture. So I can watch Harry Potter with fresh eyes every time.
So every time it's like when Hagrid arrived to give Harry his birthday cake and stuff, and all he did was walk in, and I was just like,
I'm a what?
Oh no.
Yeah, but those are my favourite. I can get into which ones I actually want to live in. Which...
In time, sweet prince.
In time.
Well,
I will say I've never been a huge fan of Harry Potter.
Oh,
I do like Harry Potter, but I definitely wouldn't class it in my favourite universes.
I mean, I got read it as a child. It was like the first book I read. I got read it as a child, so...
Same here.
Same. It's also the only book series I've actually read all the way through.
I'm kind of illiterate, so that just never happened for me.
Yeah, that makes...
Yeah, I'm also illiterate, hence why it's the only book series I've read.
That explains a lot, Joe.
Whatever do you mean?
Well...
Sir, are you trying to insinuate my level of being?
It's not really an insinuation, it's just a flat-out fact.
Just,
You're a dunce.
I'm a damn it. I was the guy sat in the corner with the hat on.
Alright, Ben, well, gun to your head, which one would you pick as your favourite?
Oh, fucking hell. I've already had, like, 15 minutes to think of this, and now I have to pick my favourite.
We don't mess around here on the Brunt Lemons.
It's... Star Wars. No!
Wait, did you even mention Star Wars?
Yeah, I said Star Wars.
I clearly switched off.
Shows how much attention you're paying in the recording process.
Dab joke.
I'm not even going to choose between Marvel and DC, because that's another kettle of fish.
Oh, God.
I'm just
I
going to go with
seriously
Star
just
Wars.
zone out during the whole Star Wars bit.
Oh, maybe Lord of the Rings, though. No! Star Wars.
Alright, there you go. It's set in stone in a
Move
fancy
on before I
animation.
change my mind.
Okay, are you sure, Ben? Are you
I'm
sure?
sure.
Is that your final answer?
For now!
Alright, Big D, go on.
No, not me next. Chris, go on.
Okay, it's me. I've got several.
Go in
favourite...
alphabetical order. B, C, D, G. G, J.
I thought you were telling me to go down my list in alphabetical order. I was like, holy shit, I'm not that good at the alphabet on the fly. I'm not gonna lie. I was the class dunce. God damn it.
It's all coming out now.
No, but I do struggle to keep the alphabet in order in my head most of the time because I'm stupid. Like if anyone ever was like, "Hey, recite the alphabet," I'd literally have to sing the song in my head because I can't just do that. But anyway,
What song?
You know the song.
Which
How
song?
do you not know the
What
alphabet?
song? Sing it. Damn it.
A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
the song. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Okay.
It is a song,
I thought
it's
I thought it
just-
was more elaborate than that.
No.
Nope.
That's it. Okay. Well,
A is for aardvark. B is for Ben.
Oh.
yeah, now yes. Continue.
That's a different podcast. Okay.
All different.
I'll be back in a moment.
All right.
Okay.
Well, Dion it is.
Shit. Right, okay.
Wheels
Well,
of fate have
I'm...
spoken.
They really wanted me to go next.
did.
Okay, well, for me, it's also a toss-up, because I don't know. Alright, I'm just going to say this right now. All three of these universes, horrible to live in. You have horrible odds, and most definitely would probably die. But I just like them. They're all so cool. So we have, I'll throw the obvious one in there, Mass Effect. I love Mass Effect to pieces.
Oh.
I knew that was going to be
Spo-
there.
Spoilers for
Yep.
when we get to me. I also like Mass Effect a bit.
Hey.
I know. At first, I was like, "Yeah, I'd kind of like to live there," and then I remembered the plot of Mass Effect. And I was like,
Remember the Reapers?
Kind of like to live there."
Especially if you were human. Mass
Or
Effect 3.
Batarian.
Yeah, the Batarians, well, didn't end so well. Anyway, go on.
The Batarians like wiped out before Mass Effect 3 even begins. Like they're just like, oh yeah, and the Batarians they got fucked up. I'm like, oh okay, I guess they're all gone now.
I mean, from a human perspective, it's like, not a bad loss. They kept constantly enslaving us, but yeah.
There's the
Well,
Krogans
that's
and the Genophage. So that's shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of horrible stuff in Mass Effect, hence why I would not want to live there.
The universe kind of sucked to live in before the Reapers got there.
Yeah.
It just sucked a bit more when they got there, especially for humanity,
Yeah, but if you go to the Citadel, you
Conquering
can
Earth.
hear Shepard saying, "I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite.
That's my favourite store in the Citadel.
Like, it might be worth it for that. But anyway, go on.
It might be worth it if you're, on the Normandy and you get a competent Commander Shepard who doesn't get your whole crew killed.
Yeah, if it's
So not Harry then.
Yeah,
Not Harry's. No.
definitely not.
But okay, yeah, there's that one. Next one is also Star Wars.
That's
It's a
also on my
contender.
list.
And then finally, Dragon Age, because I'm a sucker for fantasy. But that would be a horrible universe to live in.
Yeah, Dragon Age. You've thrown.
The blight alone is reason enough to be like, nope, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah. It's pretty,
Just occasionally, every few decades, a demon army will rise up with a demon dragon leading it, and only a certain group of people can kill it. Everyone else is just fucked.
But the Mabawi Warhounds is so cute. You could just snuggle that in her face.
Right, okay. Actually, no, I think I will, as much as I love fantasy, because that's part of the reason Dragon Age is on this list, I think I will discount it, just because I don't know enough about the universe to be like, this is amazing.
Yeah, very fair.
Like, I know a fair amount, having played through Dragon Age Inquisition and Origins a number of times, but I've never gone looking into it. Whereas with Star Wars and Mass Effect, I've actually looked into it / the games or the films themselves have given you enough to go off of. It's a toss up between the two.
Which one does
Again.
a man choose?
I don't know. This is the problem. I'm choosing my favourite, not which one to live in, because both of these are horrible to live in.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like, we've discussed the reasons for Mass Effect, and as for Star Wars, where you have super weapons that destroy planets on a fairly regular basis, you have the Jedi-Sith Wars, you have a chance of just being a slave on Tatooine. So, nah, I'm good.
Yeah,
I will pass on both of these.
definitely, yeah.
No, I'm gonna go with Mass Effect, just because with Star Wars you have that problem of there's two universes to choose from. You have canon and non-canon, whereas with Mass Effect it's just one, and I really like it.
Horror is canon.
It's horrorous, but it's still really fucking cool. Like the races in Mass Effect are all reasonably varied, have good designs, all have interesting lore behind them as well. If you just through playing the games alone, you get decent chunks of lore just by talking around to people. Like literally Mass Effect 1, you could just go to like their ambassadors and be like, "Hey, tell me about your people," and you hear about them. You're like, "This is pretty cool."
No, I can't say.
And also, I do really appreciate the setup. Like obviously, when you think about the generalized setup, it's nothing too special. But again, with the shell that it's encased in of all the unique species and stuff, it's a fun one. Just everyone in the galaxy at one point after reaching space went, "Huh, there's all this space tech for us all to use. Cool." And then finding out more and more about the precursors' origins and then the threats' origins, and no, I love it, especially in Mass Effect 3 when you have I think it's the Leviathan DLC, and you just get the backstory. You get the backstory. It's like, here's everything about the Reapers, here's everything about the things that created the Reapers, and it's just like, this is top notch.
While I did like the Leviathan DLC, I will say I prefer it when my ancient races are shrouded in a little bit more mystery. It's a trap one of my favorite universes falls into in its later iterations, and I'm like, you gave me just a bit too much.
That's fair. That one's definitely a bit more. Well, I say it's personal preference. It's kind of because obviously some prefer it to be used in mystery. I personally don't mind it being explained as long as it's a decent explanation, which I thought it was, so I was very happy with it. But if the explanation had been shite, no, I'd definitely be on the side of, you should have kept it vague. Because obviously there's nothing wrong with having a vague backstory as well. It just gives you something for the characters in the universe to be like, what's the origins of this? It's a nice back mystery which cannot be solved depending on the author.
Right. Also, it lets people fill in the blanks with stories far cooler than you could probably write. Star Wars.
It depends who's doing the writing. It primarily depends on who's doing the writing. After all, like we just discussed earlier, you can have someone like J.R.R. Tolkien give you all the universe stuff, and basically him doing that allows anyone else who wants to do something in that universe to be like, right, okay, here's all the universe stuff, here's the rules set up, I could be creative of this. So it's not too bad to have that information, but there are pros and cons to each, so Alright, yes, Mass Effect is my vote for favourite universe, but definitely not for one to live in. Holy shit. I don't want to be a husk.
Yeah, it would be a bit horrific.
You definitely don't want to be in Britain in Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, no. Ghost Child.
I don't think you want to be on Earth at all.
No, but considering the finale of Mass Effect 3 is in London, I'm also going to pass it, especially on the UK.
I can hear that really sad piano music playing right now.
Oh. I know exactly which one you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, music is great in Mass Effect. I'll give you that. Cool.
Right, okay.
Chris, the wheels of fate have turned back to you.
As they always do.
They forced you to go second.
We've touched on Mass Effect and Star Wars, so I won't talk about them too much. First off, I'm going to mention one that probably will... Actually, saying that we've already mentioned like a lot of them, will not get mentioned from this point onwards, and that's Doctor Who. It's a bit of a weird woolly universe, because time keeps changing a lot, and the lore keeps changing all the time. But I really do like, specifically, the backstory of the Time Lords and the Daleks, about Gallifrey and Skaro, and all that sort of stuff. I like the idea of the Great Time War, and time locking, and wibbly-wobbly timey nonsense.
I wrote this one down, actually, as well. But
I was going to say, that's fair. I'm gonna give it an honourable mention.
I don't understand it at all. I don't understand the time.
It's a hard one to get your head around sometimes.
Because, like, I actually went back and started watching all of Doctor Who recently from Christopher Eccleston. Not all of Doctor Who, like the newer stuff. And like he talks
New
about...
Who.
New Who.
Sorry. New Who.
That's literally the official term for it. The Doctor Who that began in 2005 and goes to this day is New Who. Old Who is the stuff from the 80s and from the 60s to the 80s.
That's incredible. That's so incredible. New Who.
And he's like, the Doctor's like talking about being in the Time War and everything, and it sounds incredible, but I just don't understand how when it happened, like what happened.
No, the when's a difficult question.
It's
It's technically across all of time.
It's across all of time and space, but it was also removed from the actual continuity by the Time Lords, who time-locked the whole event, so you can't physically access it through the time vortex. None of it makes sense, because it's all wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey nonsense.
Yeah.
That's the thing I love about Doctor Who. They kind of try to explain it, but at the same time, they just go, fuck it. Hence why we have the great quote of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
And it's what you get when you get a universe that is predicated on time travel. Like, the Cybermen have, 15 different origins, because they get a new origin story every time they turn up. Like, these ones from a parallel universe. These ones are the Cyber Legions from the 51st century. These guys were in Victorian London. These guys came from a planet called Mondas. These guys came from Mondas's sister planet. These guys are from someone pick where the bloody Cybermen are from, goddammit. They're from somewhere. They have to be.
That's kind of what I don't like about, say, like Doctor Who and maybe like the comic book, like Marvel and stuff like that, or not the comic books, is the fact that everything is just there isn't
flux.
there isn't a universe. There's a million different ones, and it's just
well,
it's
in the case of
nonsensical.
Doctor Who, there's one universe that revolves around roughly fixed points in time that can't be changed, but the rest of it is kind of in flux,
I know
depending
that.
on what happens.
Like the
Depending if they
Titanic.
can be asked to write a new story.
That's a
Like
fixed thing.
Like the Titanic, is it?
Yeah, it's fixed.
I think
Is that a fixed point in Doctor? Is it new?
Well, New Who was one that. Well, technically, in Old Who, they mentioned the idea of fixed points a few times, but fixed points became more of a plot point in New Who than anything
I don't know
else.
about Old Who, but in New Who, I think they've only done I might be completely misremembering, but I think they've only done alternate / new universe things twice, because you had the alternate universe where the Cybermen came in, and then you had Matt Smith's where he literally rebooted the universe, so that's technically a new universe.
He rebooted the universe.
It's a whole thing.
It sounds like a whole thing.
The TARDIS exploded. It took time with it, and then we had to do a thing.
I don't remember that.
What?
Anyway,
This has opened up a whole new.
The Doctor got captured by his enemies, and then the universe began to end, and then there was only one solar system left, which was ours, and it was literally just the Earth and what we thought was the Sun, but the TARDIS had actually blown up into the Sun.
and the reason the TARDIS exploded is because his enemies from the future had decided they wanted to try and stop him getting to that point, little knowing that by doing that, they would just kind of cement him getting to that point anyway. So they decided to come back and blow up the TARDIS, and without the Time Lords there to contain TARDIS explosions, they're pretty deadly things. Yeah. Anyway, fuck it. We're going very deep into Doctor Who nonsense.
Yeah.
I like Doctor Who. It's fun.
Chris, you and I are going to have to talk Doctor Who at some point on this podcast.
Did you watch the latest series of Doctor Who or not? Because I have very negative thoughts about that.
I was going to say, I have not, but I have heard what they've done. I've heard the controversy of the Timeless Child, and holy shit, what have they done?
Yeah, it's trash. Anyway, not for this podcast.
Just letting our viewers know, we think it's shite.
Right, next up on my favourite universes, I will mention Avatar: The Last Airbender, and by extension, Legend of Korra.
Damn it, why did I not think of this? Fuck you.
I won't say too much about it, other than it's cool and incredibly well thought out when you, even from a technological progression standpoint. It's, very well thought out about where the universe begins at the beginning of Avatar and where it is at the end of Legend of Korra.
They also established the rules very well within it, and even the basic premise is awesome. It's literally just a world where people can manipulate the 4 elements. But you're usually limited to one of those elements. God damn it, that'd be so cool. Now I want to discuss which one I'd rather have.
Different podcast. And also probably just me and you.
Probably.
Yeah, I think you lost me and Ben as soon as you mentioned Avatar. The Last Airbender.
It's my favourite television show. Moving on to my next universe, I've got The Witcher, which is just a horrible universe where everyone dies. There's 15 wars. Everything sucks. You could die of the plague, but it's really cool. It's very well textured.
It's very well textured. That's good. As long as the textures are nice.
Well, by that I mean it's detailed, well thought out. It's a cool universe from a outside perspective, but if I lived in it, I would probably die of the Black Plague.
To
or
be fair
something.
to Chris, He probably, I'm sure Witcher 3's textures are actually good as well.
Oh, they're great. Played on 4K.
That's what I meant.
Sure
That's what I thought
I'm
you
sure there's
meant.
also texture packs.
But yes.
No, by texture I meant literally like the feel of the universe. It's very well realized, and I think that's something that I can point to on pretty much all of them. Like I feel like the universes I like the most are very well realized universes with that's well thought out, and
nice aesthetic.
Oh, yeah, it also looks. That's one thing. This is more to do with The Witcher 3 than the books, but the books also have it. I like the Slavic nature of the lore of the universe. It's not like your traditional Western RPG with knights and castles and all that. It's more like Russian/Polish, medieval Europe, which is it's a different way to look at your universe. Well, I say different way. Maybe over in Russia and Poland they get that a lot, but here we get a lot of English style fantasy tales.
The best, some might say.
Well, I didn't include a single one of them on my favourite universes, so that says all I need to say about it.
We've got
I'm actually trying to look this up, because there don't seem to be a lot of books about English mythology, just that.
King Arthur. That's it.
King Arthur and his Knights of the Square Table.
I think you find it was
Does the sword and the stone count?
You wouldn't fit many knights on a triangle table. It's round.
But anyway, I've taken you all on a journey that's wasted all your time because none of those are my favourites. My favourite imaginary universe is the Halo universe.
I thought that might be it.
It's a universe where you've got really bad odds of surviving because literally 27 billion humans die over the course of its many wars. And even if it's before the Covenant War, you've got the Insurrection to deal with. And they killed many, many millions of people. But, again, it's a very well-realised universe. I like the way the technology evolves. I like the mystery of the Forerunners. And when I said that Mass Effect revealed a bit too much about its mystery ancient race, Halo 4 and 5 go way too far on the reveal more about the ancient mystery race, but I still like what they reveal to a certain degree. I just think it's less cool now that we know about it. There's also a book series that deals with them as well, which also when you lend too much specific. Yes, can't say the word. When you're too specific. When you're too specific with what happens, it starts to kind of crumble under its own weight eventually. That said, the Human Covenant War is my favourite conflict in any series. I like the mismatch between technology on the two sides. I like the idea of the UNSC being so desperate to end the insurrection, it literally kidnapped children to make into super soldiers. I like its fucked upness, but also its relatively groundedness for a sci-fi tale about aliens and plasma weaponry.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's a one as well. But,
and also for a series that's about has a reputation for being a dude bro shooter, this is a very well thought out and very nerdy sci-fi universe to
I was going to say, does
be a part of
that reputation? Because I never considered the dude bro people to be Halo fans. They're usually Call of Duty fans, I would say.
Back at the height of Halo, Call of Duty, Halo, and Gears of War were the dude bro stuff. That was I'm going to go back and drink Mountain Dew and play Halo. Let's go. And that was the reputation Halo enjoyed for a while.
I can't picture that at all, but I didn't like... it's not I didn't like it, I just wasn't playing it back in its heyday, so I don't know.
It definitely had that reputation, but I did know a few people who said they wouldn't play Halo because it has aliens and aliens are gay.
I know who you're talking about. I think.
I know people who have said that as well.
You will.
What a bizarre.
I do know. I remember specifically.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
I want to know now. You have to tell me afterwards.
You weird boy, actually, at the time.
Yeah, we'll tell you after.
With the Halo universe, is there any other extras? Because I know there's some books and some other stuff apart from the games.
The books are really where a lot of the lore and the universe comes through. Specifically, The Fall of Reach.
Yeah.
And probably First Strike. But there's 15 books now. I've read most of them. I've read most of them, and I've read the Wikipedia plots for all the others because I'm a little bit obsessed with with Halo universe stuff.
I feel like you could probably play all the games and not really know much of anything about the universe as well.
That was kind of the magic of the Bungie stuff up until maybe Reach. The games stood on their own as separate. You didn't need to know jack shit about the insurrection or about Harvest or anything like that to understand or enjoy what was going on. But it added extra texture. starting with Halo Reach and then with 343, they kind of got up their own ass about it and started being like, no, it matters. So like when you get into Halo 5 and like, look, it's Blue Team. You've never seen them before, but Master Chief loves them. I was like, okay, right. You need to chill a bit.
Yeah.
I love it because I know what's happening. Nobody else will know what's happening.
I feel like a lot of people coming from maybe they played Halo 1 through 3, they'll be like, I thought Chief was the last, and there's going to be a lot of confusion. And when you go to like, I know you go to San Gileos, don't you, or whatever.
Yeah, you go to San Gileos, you deal with foreigner shit. You're like, you're like talking about like San Gileos and elite culture, and I'm like, that's really cool. Nobody cares apart from like the hardcore.
Yeah, I think Combat Evolved did especially really well was create a sense of just unknown wonder about everything.
Like even like, what was magical even back then was that even like the fall of Reach and the Human Covenant War was like that was mysterious, and now we know literally every bloody detail about it. But back then it was like oh, Reach fell. What's Reach? Oh, it was our fortress amongst the stars. Oh Jesus, this is cool.
Yeah,
this is really cool.
Exactly. A game that actually surprisingly dripped in atmosphere was ODST for me as well, because they had the was it ED? Is it ED?
Yes.
Yeah, and you kind of would find all the stories about the people, and it's a small thing in the universe, but it's an incredibly cool detail, especially learning about that dude who's Kebab.
I could talk on and on about how great ODST is and how it annoys me that it got the reputation to being the short one or the bad one or whatever. But
oh yeah, a lot of people didn't like that one, did they? Because they were all like, "Oh, it should have been a DLC." And
people said it was
what?
Yeah, people said it was really short.
Great, like grounded story. And you don't feel like you're not Chief, so you're not like invincible, and you're in just this dirty city and trying to like fight for your life. It's great, that game.
It's brilliant. It oozes atmosphere. It's fantastic. It's definitely up there.
Where is it set? Somewhere in Africa.
New Mombasa.
the megapolis of New Mombasa.
That's the.
But yes, Africa.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Also where Halo 2 began. But no, my favorite universe. It's one of those things where it caught me early on, because when I played the game when I was like 11, I then read the book, and then I read the book again, and then I played the game again, and it just like seeped its way into the, like what I thought about universes for like my entire life.
Speaking of like books, going back to like Doctor Who, Chris, did you have those BBC books?
I had some BBC books, and they continue to print new ones of those at like 3-4 times a year.
I've got
Jesus.
like 20 of those. I read them all.
Doctor Who's gargantuan. Like they're printing, like even to this day, they're print like even with the new Doctor, she has like novels about her. They go back and do radio plays about old Doctors. They write books about the old Doctors. They're like, oh, now we have crossovers between River Song and the old Doctor. I'm like, Jesus Christ, stop, stop, slow down.
Law, you want content? Give you content.
But anyway, those are my universes. I talked at length about it. I shall now shut up for a while.
So,
fair enough.
Is it
Joe?
Joe, yes.
Hello. How
Hi.
do you do?
Hello there.
I was probably a terrible person to go last because pretty much all of mine have been said. While everyone was talking, I was kind of thinking. I love so many different universes, like Gears and all the ones you mentioned, and Fallout. But I think the ones that kind of stand out the most as being incredible, the ones that you take the time to go watch endless YouTube videos and read stuff about. And so I'll do a quick thing. Lord of the Rings is there, obviously.
All right.
Halo, for all the things we've just said, and all the above. I think the number one universe for me, though, and I'm surprised it actually hasn't been mentioned, maybe by Ben, is the Elder Scrolls universe.
Oh
shit.
Hands down, is the best universe for me.
I'm embarrassed because I straight up forgot.
I unfortunately don't know anything about it apart from Elder Scrolls 5.
This is what happens.
I know what I read on Wikipedia. That's about it.
This is what happens when I think of a list in 2 seconds.
You're always going to miss stuff, and to be fair, I probably have as well. But yeah, it's one of those games where I spent far too much time in, and it's forced me to go off and and read endless things about it, and it's so ridiculously fascinating. There's even from how the universe itself and the planes and everything has been created through the hteir and the hteir, and Lorcan's I think it's his bones or something created Nern and all this stuff, and it's nuts. And it plays into the game as well so much, but in subtle ways. You could be like, oh, it's the hteir Lords, but then it's like, who are the hteir Lords? And then when you find out who they are and what they do and all this stuff, and then there's the little things like you find out about like the snow elves, and it actually does kind of go back to what you were saying before about when it kind of talks, it removes some of the mystery. Because in Skyrim, I was obsessed with finding out what happened to the damn snow elves. So and then in that what was it?
Something Blood
Dawnguard,
Yeah.
which is a great DLC. There's a snow elf there. Like, I think he doesn't really actually say much about it, but I liked the mystery of it. I would have liked to more seeing their old civilization in that particular aspect.
When it came to the snow elves, I remember there was like speculation about, are they called the Falmer?
Yeah, well,
Or something
they turned into the Falmer because the dwarves turned them into the Falmer.
Well, yeah, but wasn't that all kind of like speculation before? But then when you met that snow elf, he was like, yeah, no, that's how it was.
I think so. Yeah, I think he said that they tortured them or something, or they took their eyes or something like that. But yeah, it was speculation as how did the snow elves become the Falmer. There was like tons of different theories and stuff.
Yeah, because I think they the dwarves released a chemical which made them blind, and then they slowly devolved over thousands of years into
the
fucking
twisted malformations. Yeah.
Yeah.
But even besides that, there's all the different mysteries, like what happened to the Dwemer, did they ascend to godhood? There's all these different theories, and each sort of province has its own unique set of rules, and everything is different. All these different clans, and there's like an unbelievable amount of lore there. Like, it's beyond nuts, and it's all realized in such a fantastic way. And there's so much that even if you played I'll say the three biggest games, obviously Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim, there's so much left. Like, even outside of Tamriel that you could go to. So is
Tamriel not the only place?
No, there's tons. There's like the Akavir. There's where's that bloody place? The Nords originally came from. They came from like a continent above. I think it's Atmor or something.
Oh, were they like Vikings and came down?
Pretty much, yeah. I think it's like north of Skyrim is where they came from. And I think with Eskimo, and then they settled and all sorts of stuff, because they weren't the original thingies of Skyrim. But yeah, all sorts of that. There's a million different explanations of that in a million different places, and it's just bananas.
I'll give you credit. I do want to know more about this universe now that I've heard you talk about it at length for a bit. Because I'm like, I've never given the Elder Scrolls universe a second thought. Like, I absolutely adored I still kind of adore Skyrim, because I'm kind of getting the urge even now to go back and play my modern to shit version. But I've just never really thought about the lore too much. But now that you've reminded me, because I actually remember learning about the snow elves and stuff as well. At the time when I was playing, I was like, oh, snow elves.
Yeah.
Who are they?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed that you said this before me. I feel really silly now. But I did the same thing. I've been on the Wikipedias and read through everything and watched videos about the hteir Lords, and which each of their spheres of influence and stuff like that, and the history of the companions and the Thieves Guild. And
it's great. On the face of it, could seem like a standard fantasy world. But then under the hood, and it throws you the odd bone. It's like, this is this.
The odd dragon bone.
Yeah. But and what also is very thing about it, all the lore. There's so many books in the Elder Scrolls games that contain so much of the lore in itself. So you can just sit there and read so much about the universe.
You could literally roleplay a librarian.
You literally could, yeah. And it's very deep. It's very deep, and for me, it does take the crown as the best amongst all
Bethesda,
the great ones.
what happened?
what I'll also say about the Elder Scrolls from my perspective is that I'm a sucker for like I like it when there's been like recent like big political upheaval and whatnot, and specifically the war between the Empire and the Aldmeri Dominion. I think that's their name. That's what I devoted a lot of my Elder Scrolls wiki time to reading.
It's very fascinating how it all happened and how there's a back and forth, and you've got like Tiber Septim came before and did all that stuff. But yeah,
one thing I was disappointed about with Skyrim, actually, the Civil War storyline. I think that was a bit
not being much of a civil war.
It was just a bit weak, and I really I wanted to like destroy the Thalmor because they were clearly just horrible. But
it's why one of my favourite mods for that game is the Civil War mod, where it adds just a shit ton of like skirmishes and battles around the country. It's fucking awesome, and I think it does add a few quests related to the Civil War plot as well.
It does,
which makes it far more interesting.
A lot of these big things tend to not live up to the incredible tales that kind of get told, and I think that's the same for a lot of universes. Yeah. I find that a lot with Star Wars as well.
Yeah,
you read about tons of cool stuff, and probably it's the same for generally across the board. A lot of it just doesn't get realized as it is in your head, because the power of your imagination is always going to be more. So
it's the problem of reading something before either seeing or playing something.
Yeah, because the Civil War in Skyrim was terrible.
A good example of this would be for me, funny enough, we also mentioned this before, the Harry Potter franchise, because the Harry Potter franchise, the first 4 films I saw before I read the books, and then for 5, 6, and 7, I'd read the books, and then I went to see the films, and I went, oh, well, they missed out this, this could have been done better. It's like, if you ever want to like a film, watch it first before you read it, because you're always going to imagine something better in your head half the time.
Wait. Oh, right, yeah, you're saying watch the film.
See the film before you read about it.
Because the books are better? Is that what you're saying?
In a lot of cases, yes.
Yeah, because I do think I love the Harry Potter films because they are great, but they're just a lot of content is just like cut for time, and there's a lot of things that they didn't do quite as I wanted to in the books, but like they cut a lot of like the Quidditch World Cup from the 4th one. That was a big glaring thing for me.
A lot of that was to get around not having Winky, who was kind of a character that would have wasted. Anyway, this is Harry Potter talk.
Yeah. Anyway, are we? So
should we move on to where we live?
Can I just do some pickups for some of my universes? Well, one of my universes specifically. I just want to mention some cool stuff about before we move on that I forgot to mention. The Witcher. I forgot to, because when you were talking about like the Nords coming to Skyrim from a different continent and whatnot, it reminded me of the way the Witcher introduced humans into its universe and stuff like that, since they've only been around like 500-ish years in that universe. It's fantasy with like a weird underlayer of sci-fi. Like basically there's like a cataclysm that happened like 1,000 years ago, where like all the multiverses like kind of like splintered and shattered, and humans came from another universe and basically invaded the elves' place and slaughtered all the elves, and were like, this is ours now. And we live here.
Shit.
Isn't it a thing that the world isn't the one they originally came from? Something like the conjunction of spheres, is that what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, the conjunction of spheres. The humans came from a different universe, which apparently they fucked up. Speculation being it's our universe after global warming or some such. Basically, their universe was unlivable, so they came and killed the elves and took their shit.
I like it.
That is fascinating.
There's also like another universe where the elves killed all the humans and took there's like different universes with different humans and different elves. So the Wild Hunt comes from a different universe where they took over a human world and slaughtered all the humans and tossed all their bodies into ditches.
Marvelous.
Amazing.
So yeah, like there's a sorry.
Oh no, go on.
I mean, there's a lot of like cool, like weird sci-fi under them. There's like a real great quest near the end of The Witcher 3 where you like have to go to another universe and you have to like cross through different universes, and each one of them has like a different thing that's wrong with them. Like one of them is like one big desert because their sun got too hot, and it's like weird sci-fi mixed in with fantasy, and I really like that like combination.
Well, now I want to play The Witcher. I always felt like The Witcher would be up there as one of the best as well, but I just don't know enough about it. I'm not as like enriched in it.
In the books, at one point, Ciri's jumping around universes, and she ends up in 1908 in the Ness at one point. So yeah, our universe exists in that universe as well, I guess.
Interesting.
The best universe.
But yeah, I just wanted to mention that because when you were talking about when you were talking about the Nords coming from somewhere else and settling in Skyrim, it really reminded me of the humans fucking up elves in The Witcher.
It's very cool concept.
I mean, even all the human cities that you visit in the games and the books, like a lot of the time they go out the way and saying these weren't human cities. The humans turned up, killed all the elves, and then demolished half their buildings and built on top of it. None of the places where any of the civilizations live were human to begin with, and the elves are real pissed about it.
Understandably so.
Right, well, before we move on to the universes we'd like to live in, then should we all quickly just reiterate our favourite universes again, just so we have a definitive statement.
So mine was Star Wars.
Mine was Mass Effect.
Elder Scrolls.
Mine was Halo, but now that I've talked about The Witcher, I'm like, maybe it's a tie.
God damn it, man. Good to your head. Which one is it?
It's a tie. Fuck it.
But I love Lord of the Rings.
Well, issue your own tie then.
Oh, God. Anyway, we're going to move on to where we want to live in these. If we'd want to live in these universes.
Where we want to live in the UK.
So, I feel like
Newcastle probably.
I feel like Star Wars would be a good one to start on because I think we all have an opinion about that.
I feel like Star Wars is a good one on the odds scale. Is that it's just there's so many people. Like I have a good odds of just being a normal human being who doesn't get blown up on a planet.
I feel like you have horrible odds of equally being like a slave or like living in hut space or the equivalent of, and that's terrible.
I mean, well,
living.
Like say living in a world where they can blow my planet up.
Yeah, but say you end up in Halo or Mass Effect or something like that. Like it pretty much sucks for everybody who lives in those universes. There's nowhere to be safe. At least in Star Wars, there's a good 50% chance you'll end up somewhere relatively safe.
To be fair, if you're a human and you were once in the Republic and then the Republic becomes the Empire, you're probably fine.
But with Star Wars, because the galaxy is clearly massive. There's planets of every different kind, so you could end up on, I don't know, a really nice planet
Naboo.
Yeah, Naboo.
Naboo's just a nice place to live.
Naboo is a really nice Earth planet kind of place, or you could end up on or Kashyyyk.
Corellia.
Kashyyyk is lovely. Or you could end up on Tatooine.
Kashyyyk is deadly, man.
Terrible. Or
Corellia sucks. Coruscant kind of sucks.
Mustafar. That pretty sucks.
I mean, I don't think anyone really lives on Mustafar.
It's fair enough.
Apart from the Mustafarians, whatever they're called.
We're the Mustafarians, man.
I can't remember the native species name. It's not Mustafarian, but there is a native species.
There's no way there's a native species.
I thought it was just mining companies that live there.
Because it's
I'm pretty sure there's a native species, because I remember. I think I remember from some not extended universe, but from some Darth Vader comic stuff when he built his fortress on Mustafar, and the native species there hated it.
In my mind, Mustafar was a volcanic, a planet that's kind of just formed. That's why it's all volcanic and stuff.
Must have just formed a far.
If you end up on Alderaan, that's a shame. But it depends when. Because, the Old Republic, apparently it was lovely in the Old Republic, but then it gets boring.
I mean, at some point it got invaded by the Sith Empire in one of those, animated trailers. So,
I'm just going to throw this out there now, because I googled it. They are called Mustafarians.
What?
I like that.
Sectoid species native to the volcanic outer rim mining world of Mustafar.
Mustafarians.
That is crazy.
Very good.
But,
sorry, side note over.
But with Star Wars, it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So these people, for all we know, I've heard this somewhere, they could be 1,000 feet tall, and we don't know. We've got no. There's no they could be giants. They could be midgets. Everyone could be millimeters tall.
I feel like a quick wiki search would fix this.
But the technology is really cool.
Mark Hamill's
hover
a normal
stuff
size.
and ships, jetpacks. Jetpacks are great, but
I would.
I do not deny that the Star Wars universe is a very cool universe, and if you manage to get a decent living standard, which is a big if, then you're going to have a pretty good life.
But the government is a bit of a problem. You've either got the Republic, who are stagnant,
incompetent,
incompetent, stagnant. The Jedi are basically useless, or you got the Empire, who are basically the Nazis.
Or you've got the multiple Jedi Sith wars.
Yes. So on the whole, I'd probably not live there. myself, but I don't know. Depends where I end up. If I was a Force user, sign me up. But probably wouldn't.
No,
be.
don't sign me up. I'll get kidnapped by monks as a newborn
that's
baby
such
and
a really
forced to
good
be
point.
forced to be a warrior for my whole life.
I'd be
No, thank you.
taken away from my family, and then some weirdo in a hood would be like, "Join me," and I'd be like, oh, okay.
Repress your urge to masturbate. It's illegal in our
I mean,
order.
I just joined the dark side.
Give in
They have
to your
cookies.
anger.
I know the dark side's horrible as well. Your master tortures you on like a daily basis to make you angry. I'm like, no, I don't want to be any of these people, please.
But you're allowed to do what you want, and the whole goal is to kill your master anyway. So
It all sounds
And then
horrific.
you become the torturer.
Perfect.
I just live on Camino and be one of those people with the long necks. They're alright. They seem to have
The
got it down.
Caminoans.
Although their planet was apparently ravaged by global warming, so that's not good.
That's why it's all underwater.
I'm a tad confused now as well. Just to clarify this part of the podcast, are we choosing one to live in out of the ones we've chosen as our favourites, or are we still just discussing like any universe that we
I'm
want
just
to live
saying
in?
which ones I'd live in out of
Okay,
mine. I just thought we'd start with Star Wars because it just seemed logical.
fair. I was just making sure we weren't doing like the right now. We picked 4. Which one of these would we want to live in?
Oh, fair play. I don't know. Am I gonna go through the rest of mine or not?
I mean, is the Star Wars
God's
one the one you'd want to live in, or is there one you'd prefer? Because the idea is to
Yes.
just do like the one universe you would
Yes,
want to live
I'd probably live in Middle Earth, to be honest.
in. Interesting.
Because, I mean, if you're a hobbit, you live in the Shire, which is just wonderful.
That would be sick, that. Be
It'll
getting
be-
high and drinking and dancing on tables.
You say
Is that-
that would be sick.
It depends on the
You guys
we
want
haven't
to-
established the timeline, that's the thing.
It's
We-
prob-
No,
When
I'm
is
not. I'm not even saying about what might happen to the Shire. Whatever. Yeah, scourging of the Shire. Whatever. I don't care. You're living in the Middle Ages. There's no proper medicine. there's no.
but you've got,
There's
like-
no showers. There's no flushing toilets.
But,
The
like,
most
you've got-
entertainment you've got is go down the local pub and smoke weed with your hairy-footed friends.
It's true.
That's all you've got.
You're trying to dissuade me, but all you've done is convince me.
But they've got like elvish. I mean, if you're an elf, you've got elvish medicine, and you're also immortal. So that's
But
you
then,
still,
then there's a thing,
You
you
still
might
don't
end
have
up
the
being
old telly.
like a goblin or something.
it's true. You could just be a goblin or an orc.
Or a fat
Like,
troll or something.
yeah.
I will
Um,
squash them
stupid
into
goblin
chili.
king.
Oh, God.
It depends what's going on in Mordor at the time. If it's kind of there's a few black clouds.
There's a lot of
I mean-
variables, and you still are living in the Middle Ages.
It's very true.
What you do have on your time with the Mordor stuff is that there's like literally like 12,000 years worth of history. If you got plonked down at any time that wasn't like the last 20 years, you'd probably be all right. You'd probably be all right.
But yeah, I'd live in the Shire or like Rivendell. They just always. I guess that's the point of the films, that they're like perfect kind of places. Or if you're a human, you're living in Minas Tirith, which is like the coolest
Have you seen it,
city
Aragorn?
ever.
The Great White,
White.
City.
The White Tower.
I don't know, Minas Tirith is kind of like the story of the British Empire. It was great once upon a time, but it declined real hard over the last 100 years. Like real hard.
You know, Chris, you're like slowly discouraging me from this universe.
He's trying to save you from the Middle Ages, man.
Right. I don't want to live here anymore. I'm changing my mind slowly.
Right, I'm going. The ones I'd want to live in, I'd either pick like Doctor Who because it's a normal universe and any problem that pops up and a kindly alien from another planet will come and save us. Or like Harry Potter because most of it's pretty normal.
Yes.
I'd get to live in the 90s.
If it was Harry Potter, it would either just be you'd be a Muggle, so just
I was going to say, you'd
just
still have a
normal,
chance of being a wizard, even if you were a muggle, so...
just normal. But if you are a wizard, you get to go to Hogwarts, which is the coolest place in the world.
Not necessarily, there are other wizarding schools.
There's the one in America, and there's Durmstrang and Bobat. And
I think there's more than just one per country as well. I think Hogwarts is just like the best one in the UK.
I think Hogwarts is the only one in the UK.
And sorry, this is completely silent. In that like 2 minutes there, I really thought about Doctor Who, and I was like, no, No, I don't. No,
I
no
was going to
thank
say,
you.
the amount of shit the amount of people who die on Earth, like the Doctor saves today, yes, but there's still a lot of death.
Even if you live in the 21st century, like, you get invaded by Cybermen, Daleks, the Daleks again, probably the Cybermen again. You got Silurians, you've got Sontarans.
At one point,
like,
the Time Lords tried to come back.
Maybe 5 times a year you get invaded by aliens, and then if you live at any other time, like, you could like spawn in the Time War, at which point you will die a million deaths over eternity, and it will be very painful for you. Yeah, no, fuck that.
This is the problem with all these fictional universes, is that they have an incredible amount of violence in all of them. So, I mean,
perfect?
it kind of like mirrors the real world, though. So, you know,
It's true. If I was picking our universes, like the odds and like, you got bad odds.
yeah,
Most of human history shit.
I'd probably prefer Star Wars than the real world. I'll be honest.
On the I prefer to live it now. I like my life now better than almost any Star Wars life. However, if I was going basically on the odds, no. Like, Earth's been good for maybe like the last 30 years, and it's starting to get shit again.
It's a good point. You've probably got a higher percentage chance of things going well in a different universe that you think of as being ultra-violent. Because chances are it's that big. You might be alright.
Yeah.
Star Wars might not be a terrible shout, even though initially I thought it was going to be terrible. But Earth, you're kind of trapped on Earth.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do?
At least Star Wars is a bajillion planets. You could go to like the furthest corner of the galaxy and have a pretty nice life. To be honest.
You could go to that gambling hub in The Last Jedi. Just gamble
That's only for the very rich.
Damn
And
it.
also the really poor, but the really poor get whipped.
What bit is?
They get whipped daily.
The bit you forgot about.
That bit.
It's the really bad episode of it's like a really bad episode of the Clone Wars shoved into the middle of your Star Wars movie.
Really weird. It started to
Something
get a
between.
bit. It started to get a bit prequely when it went to that place. I don't know why. It just kind of looks a bit like the prequels. I don't know.
This is a discussion for another podcast.
Yes, it is.
Okay, have we made any decisions so far?
No.
Harry
Fantastic.
Potter. That's where I'm putting my vote on.
Okay, Harry Potter.
Okay, we've had one decision.
Can
Do we want another one? Because I do have a definitive.
Can I
Go
just?
for
Oh, what?
One of you.
No, go on, Ben. Go on, Ben. If you've
Somebody.
decided.
No, what was Dion going to say? It's fine. Don't worry about me.
No, go on. Finish.
Oh
Finish.
my lord,
I-
one of you.
I think I can guess what Deal might be saying.
I was going to move on to a completely different universe, and
Oh, okay.
so just say what you were going to say.
All right. Well, I'll go with my answer. Actually, out of curiosity, though, first, Chris, what do you think I'm going to say?
I was thinking probably Star Trek.
Hey,
There you
got
go.
it.
I thought about Star Trek and then I thought no. But you know, you give your points.
I mean, I'll happily go with Star Trek. So, okay, go. This isn't technically going with the odds, but first of all, if you're human, you're fucking set. Basically.
Unless you get killed by one of the many people who want to kill humans, who do
Yes,
many human killing activities a lot of the time.
Earth is a literal paradise. At least if we're going by 24th/23rd century. Again, there's a lot of positives to Star Trek. It mainly depends on, like with all of these universes, when you spawn. You've been randomly tossed in. If you're on, say, 21st century Earth in Star Trek, you're fucked, because World War III is a thing. That's how we discover space travel. Not space travel. Faster than light travel, after that. But then if you spawn in the 24th century, Earth is literally a paradise. Like, it's the ultimate form of communism. Everyone has resources. No one's poor. Earth is just fucking fantastic. And also, our colonies aren't too bad either. There's just the few major incidents which are probably what I imagine turned Chris away from this idea, because there's a species known as Borg, cyborgs who want to assimilate everyone. They do launch a few successful attacks on Earth. Then there's the Dominion War.
I was going to mention the Dominion War. There's Klingons. There's very angry people out there who might want to kill you at any given moment.
Yeah, it depends very much on if you live on the front lines or if you live in home territory. Because as a human in home territory, you basically set at Star Trek. If you're going by other species as well, that's the thing. I don't know if we've covered this. Are we counting other species, like when we're discussing all these worlds, or are we just assuming we're human?
Oh God!
I mean, Lord of the Rings, we said we could be a goblin, so I'm assuming it could be any.
True,
We could end up being
okay.
a Romulan or a.
I was going to say it could be a
like
Romulan, could be a Klingon, could be anything. Could be a Vulcan.
Could be William Shatner. He's a species.
No one could be William Shatner.
Boy.
just like no one can beat Patrick Stewart. But no, yeah, because just in terms of the technology in Star Trek, as long as you don't even have to say well off. You're pretty sorted in any society. It just depends on what kind of life you want to have. Because basically, the Romulans, it's like the ultimate. What's the word I'm looking for? Security state. Is that the word?
Police state would be.
Police state. That's it.
Yep, that thing.
It's like you're pretty safe as long as you don't act against the government. Klingons just violence all around, so I'll pass on that one. Vulcans, you don't have emotions. It's pretty safe. Humanity, literal paradise in the home territories. No, yeah, it's just an all-around good universe to live in, because especially the time period as well, like, for at least the time period that we have up to this point, which for the most part is like up to the 24th century, it's doing literally what I want to do. You're exploring space. That is about it, because it's like they haven't discovered the whole galaxy yet, they're still exploring, and it's just, it's like, if our Earth was to go in one direction and it went in that direction, I'd be so happy because I'd have the chance to actually, go out there and explore shit.
Well,
The
I
mods
don't
make
know
sense.
anything about Star Trek, so
I feel like Star Trek has way better odds than real life Earth.
yeah.
I mean,
Almost definitely.
unless you end up before like the 22nd century, at which point,
Yeah.
look, you're probably going to die in a nuclear explosion. But
That's the thing, because Star Trek, it's our history up until the 21st century, so... Then World War III happens, then discovering FTL happens.
and then William Shatner.
It's all about
Yeah.
William Shatner.
He happened.
I mean, I love Star Trek, but I've never watched the original series. That's the only one I haven't watched. I've watched every other one. I can't bear to try watching the original series just because of how old it is.
it's fun.
And how
it's
cheesy
schlocky.
sci-fi it is.
Kirk takes his shirt off pretty much every episode, which is weird because he's kind of flabby underneath it. It's a fun time. It's all right.
Is he wearing a toupee? I don't.
Not at that point.
Okay.
Later in the movies, yes, he's wearing a terrible toupee. But
Oh, Kirk.
One final note before before we move on as well, because I've remembered the language thing you brought up before with like Tolkien actually making Elven and stuff. It was just a random cool fact that I really liked. That someone pointed out in a YouTube video, which was because for Star Trek as well, multiple languages have actually like been made proper, either by fans or by the people who created it. Like Klingon is actually a thing, but the cool one is Vulcan, and I only say it's cool because they actually did it so that when you say something in English, when you say it in Vulcan, it's literally the same like mouth movements as well, like it's identical. And it's really fucking cool. I can't give you the example because I can't remember the Vulcan for it, but there's that classic phrase of live long and prosper. If you say it in Vulcan, you're literally making the exact same mouth movements, just slightly differing sounds. And it's really cool attention to detail.
Clever girls.
That does sound pretty cool.
Oh,
Speaking of languages, actually, that's something. Star Wars. Can they read? There's no the written language. Is there a written language? They've just got these.
It's Star
there
Wars.
is. I
Yeah.
can't remember what it's called. Is it? It's not
Like
common.
Galactic
That's-
Basic or something. Or
It's
Yeah,
like
basic,
common or
that's
something
it.
like that.
weird symbols. And
Also
there's
jizz.
none of their buttons are like labeled. Like, what do they know what they're doing? There's like
Training.
They
So,
memorize the
training.
manual.
I don't believe it.
You'd go nuts in Star Wars, though, just constantly listening to jizz over and over again.
Hey, jizz is the superior form. It's the final form of all music. That's what it will be.
It would make you go nuts.
I want jizz directly into my ear.
Yeah, you do.
I don't know if it's just a British thing or if it was an American thing as well, but I wish someone had been there with George Lucas like, yep, nope, the music's called jizz. Be like, George, no. That means something very different.
I think it's great.
You probably just came up with it on the fly, to be honest.
I mean, I love a bit of jizz. I don't know.
Don't-
What about you?
Don't we all know that?
Jizz in my ear
No,
all day.
stop it.
Right, okay, well, mine's over. Star Trek's the one I would pick because it seems like great odds.
Yeah, fair play.
Even with all the multiple empires you could potentially spawn in, as long as it's peacetime, they're not too bad. Apart from maybe like the Klingons, because they're all about just war all the time, and they're very much a medieval a medieval society with 24th century technology. You don't want to live there. That's like the one no.
Well, what's next? Who wants to live where? You can live anywhere.
What?
You can live in the Care Bear universe if you want. Do that.
That'd be magical.
You're never going to be in danger.
That's true.
Not pretty old.
Care Bears will save you.
Or you
Joe.
can live in Mad
Or
Max,
Chris.
which is fucking insane.
I can't remember who's been.
You two, it's better than me now. Better than I don't think Ben gone.
I thought
I chose Star Wars.
I did choose
Did,
Star Wars.
did you? Oh, did you choose it in the end?
Yeah,
It turns
go
out
on.
I just zone out whenever Ben
I've
talks.
got
apparently.
with Star Wars. I would like to mention Marvel and DC, though. I'd live, as long as I didn't live in New York or Gotham, I'd be fine.
Move.
Just move. Just get out. Just get out of there.
Aliens are invading. There's supervillains and metahumans all over the place. I would not want to live in that world.
Yeah, but none of it ever happens in, like, Newcastle.
Yeah, that's true.
It's always
Well,
New York.
to hear about it, we do have our own heroes in the DC
We do?
universe.
God.
Knight and Squire, they're out there protecting
and
the
Squire.
United Kingdom.
Captain
Oh, fuck
Britain.
right off. Knight
Captain
and Squire.
Why do we get the shite stuff?
Knight
Absolutely.
and Squire. I'm assuming they were a hero before, but in Batman Incorporated, they were the Batman and Robin of the United Kingdom.
That's
Knight
fucking
and
awesome.
Squire.
Jesus.
There wasn't any reason to hate them anymore. I'm sure they'll serve us. I have no idea. I thought about each one of your things that you've said. I feel like Harry Potter, we said Earth and that whole universe. I imagine it's pretty shitty for a long time. I feel like there's not much chance of it being good. Star Trek, no idea about Star Trek.
No.
And I feel like I'd just be bored every time just in Star Trek because of how dull it is. So no.
Ooh, hot take Sally over here.
Hot take Sally. No, I just don't know anything about Star Trek. Is the
I was
answer.
going to say, Joe, assuming you spawned in the 24th century, you literally have our dream of exploring space.
Yeah, but you might not be a human, and I don't know what implications
And
that
you
has.
also have to be, like, a genius. Everyone's a genius in Star Trek.
Well, I've got that covered.
Ooh.
Star Wars.
Or you could be a red
nah.
shirt, at which point they go down on every planet and get shot. So that's their job.
Fantastic.
The main characters are there's always two red shirts, and they will die. They'll go down, and they're like all the main characters will be fine. The red shirt will get eaten by the space monster of the week.
Incredible. Star Wars, like maybe, but I thought kind of all medieval universes are kind of off the plate in a way.
Yeah.
If you can get over living in a medieval universe,
But
they're
this-
all just kind of shit anyway. They're all racked with war and death anyway. So
But that's consistent through all of the universes, no matter the timeline. And if you're in Harry Potter, what's to say you're not in a medieval time in Harry Potter?
No. It's very much the
I
It's
I
actually
mean,
set
Harry
in the-
Potter's
set-
basically just our history, but with a
That's
secret
what I mean.
wizard
If
society.
we're doing timelines, why wouldn't you end up just a medieval?
I think
Tommy.
we made it a bit too confusing with the timeline thing.
Are we doing it in the times that?
okay. Let's limit it to the times that the set out. Star Trek would win, I think. Maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm definitely over Star Wars because you do not want to be in Star Wars when the Empire
Any
is around.
point.
Well, when it comes down to Harry Potter, you're basically just picking to live in 90s Britain. At which point, I
Pretty
mean,
much.
sure, that's all right, I guess, but you know,
gotta be
it's
pretty
90s
decent.
Britain.
Yeah.
And if
And then I thought the Elder Scrolls, because I was like, anyone can learn magic. So I was like, I'll just kind of do that to heal myself, cure a disease, try and live to my own standards, do that. So I was kind of like, maybe. That's the only sort of fantasy world I could... She's guaranteed to be able to maybe learn magic, but then it's like, alright. So, I don't know.
If you're in the Witcher universe and you turned out to be able to do magic, you're set because you're basically immortal and young forever in that universe if you can do magic. But
But it's a chance.
you can't just learn it.
You can't.
You can't just learn it.
You can't have
Exactly.
kids, and you get all jaded and sad.
Yeah, I don't want kids anyway.
Oh yeah, you don't, do you?
Someone new to me right now.
You know what?
Oh, Jesus.
take that ability away anyway.
you go off and be a
I've got
wizard.
the bricks. I've got the bricks right here. I don't know, I guess Star Trek then, because it's comfortable. The most I would hope for is to be comfortable.
In its time period, even like whether it's like original series time period or that one, you have a pretty good chance of being pretty pretty alright.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the best you can hope for, really, is just to be alright.
We
There's probably plenty of other universes out there, but for the life of me.
We seem to be reaching a consensus on Star Trek, and I don't like it very much.
Me neither. I mean, you could just pick a movie that's set in our universe.
I want to live in
that'd
the
be
Fast and
difficult.
Furious universe because physics doesn't seem to apply. So I can jump from building to building in a Bugatti Veyron and be just okay.
I'm
Just
going to
alright.
be in Train Spotting and just do some heroin.
There
you go.
There you go. I'll join Ben doing heroin. But then being a hobbit and smoking the finest leaf in the South Farthing sounds incredible.
Absolutely.
Salted pork, but fuck it, I'll just be Star Trek, why not? I'll be comfortable. Why not? There we are.
Great.
No, it appears we've decided, and that would bring this podcast to an end.
It does. It's an hour, 10 minutes. It's actually pretty good.
It is pretty long.
So, well, I'll outro us out then. If you made it this far, you are a true Blunt Lemons fan, because I'm not sure even I would make it this far and listening to us ramble on anything. But thank you for watching the video and getting to the end. Like, comment, subscribe, dislike, call me a fat bitch, who cares? As long as you're engaging. Just do that, please.
Damn.
Do anything. Engage, goddammit. Shake yourself out of apathy. Use that keyboard. Click that mouse. Put down your penis. Right, anyway.
I will.
Well,
not.
And
Motivated.
most importantly, stay safe during this annoying time of the coronavirus.
True.
What better activity to do whilst you're forced to stay indoors whilst watching all of our lovely content, either here
There's a
or
lot of
on
it.
Twitch?
There is.
While washing your hands. And staying 2
Scully.
meters away from
After
everyone.
every masturbatory session.
Staying 6 feet
That's
away
key.
from people.
That's key, yes.
I mean, do
Anyway,
not-
follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Twitch, because Dion does things there.
Hey,
And keep watching Blunt Lemons, because things will happen. I promise. I keep saying this, but it will. Adios.
adios, everyone.
ta-ra.